Sister-in-law got mad because her ex proposed me, and this got her banned from our family. This might sound a bit tangled, but I'll do my best to make it clear. I'm a 27-year-old woman engaged to a man named Mike, while my older brother Tom is married to Mike's ex, Sarah. To put it plainly, Mike, 38M, briefly dated Sarah, 34F, about 4 years ago. She wanted marriage and a family, but Mike wasn't interested in that with her at the time. Back then, he was going through a rough patch, partying, experimenting with drugs, and generally being unreliable. They dated for about 6 months, but things fell apart because Mike wasn't ready to settle down. Shortly after they split, Sarah met my brother, and within 6 to 7 months, they got married. So, in a whirlwind year or so, she went from dating Mike to meeting my brother to marrying him. I met Mike 2 years ago after Sarah and Tom were already married. I had no clue Mike had dated my sister-in-law. When Mike and I started getting closer, he began making real changes. He quit drinking and doing drugs, got into therapy, and genuinely worked on himself. I've been there every step of his journey, and I'm incredibly proud of him. We have a strong, healthy relationship. Even though Sarah was already married to Tom, she was furious when she found out I was dating Mike and that he was serious about me. She was incredibly cruel, spreading nasty lies. She claimed Mike was grooming me. I was 25 when we started dating, and he was 36. This is not grooming, for goodness sake. She also lied, saying Mike was abusing me and trying to drag me into addiction like he supposedly had been. It got so bad that it ruined my relationship with Tom, as he never once tried to rein her in or stand up for me. Last week, Mike and I announced our engagement to my family during my dad's birthday celebration. My parents were happy for us, but Sarah couldn't hold back, saying, "Must be nice to be the one who gets the ring after someone else did all the hard work to fix him." Once again, Tom said nothing. My parents told her to stop, but I snapped, firing back. "He fixed himself, you jerk." And yes, it feels great knowing I'm marrying a man I love more than anything, who loves me just as much. How does it feel for you, knowing that my poor brother is the only one who wanted to marry you? Is that nice? My parents ended up kicking them out, telling her that everyone had had enough of her nonsense. They even banned her from all family events, pointing out how insane it was that, despite being married, she's still bitter that her ex didn't want her. Now Tom is blaming me. So, Ada in this situation? I don't feel like I am, but I could use an unbiased perspective. Thank you so much for all your comments and reaching out to me. I didn't expect this much feedback, but I appreciate the support and perspective. I'm sorry I couldn't respond to everyone, but for those who disagreed, I respect your opinions as well. I left out a lot of details in my initial post since it was already long, but some of you asked for more context, so here's the full story. How I met my fiancé. To answer the question, no, I don't live in a small town or a trailer park. We live in a large city with a population in the millions. I met Mike through a mutual friend who was dating one of his colleagues. They started hanging out after work, and one day my friend invited me to join them at a bar. That's where Mike and I were introduced, and eventually, our friendship turned into something more. Did Mike target me to spite Sarah? As strange as it sounds, it was just an ironic coincidence. With a city this big, the odds of dating your SIL's ex seem low, but it happened. When Mike and I met, neither of us knew we had any connection to Sarah. My friend who introduced us didn't know Sarah or that she and Mike had dated, so there was no chance that Mike was trying to date me out of spite. Did I break girl code? I don't think so. I'm loyal to my friends, and I know the girl code well. When I found out about Mike and Sarah's past, it was shocking. But I couldn't see a reason to end a relationship over it, especially since Sarah was already married to my brother, Tom. Yes, it felt strange, but after seeing how happy we were together, I knew Mike was worth it. We're in love, and my brother and Sarah live in another part of the city, so we only see them a few times a year. Most of the time, we visit my parents separately. Mike's past addiction issues. A lot of you expressed concern, and I want to thank you for caring and sharing your stories. Mike had a rough patch due to unresolved trauma and loneliness, which led him to cope with parties, alcohol, and drugs. His friend circle wasn't great either, but he was always a functioning adult with a stable job as a software engineer. He was never violent or abusive. Did Mike change for me? No, he changed for himself. I was just the motivation he needed to get his life in order, but it wasn't just to impress me. As we spent more time together, he realized he could enjoy life without substances. I fell in love with his true self, which gave him the confidence to work on himself. Am I the golden child?
No.
My parents love my brother and me equally. Of course, they were worried when they first heard Sarah's accusations, but I was honest with them about everything. Mike was open about his past, and my parents came to trust him. They only want me to be happy. They warned Sarah multiple times to stop her behavior, so it wasn't like they kicked her out without reason. Update. Yesterday, I reached out to Tom and asked to meet him for coffee, just the two of us. I opened up to him like I hadn't in years. I started by apologizing that he was caught in the middle, but I told him I wouldn't apologize for loving Mike. I told him how much the situation has hurt me. Tom is 38, the same age as Mike, and growing up, he was my protector. He was the one who defended me and taught me to value myself, yet now I feel I can't share my happiness with him anymore because of Sarah. I understand why he might wish I'd never met Mike, but it hurts to feel like he resents the source of my happiness. Tom defended me even when I was younger, even against family. I remember once when I was 15 and experimenting with makeup, a drunk uncle made a rude comment. Tom kicked him out, saying no one would disrespect his sister. So to see him now, standing by as his wife is cruel to me and Mike, really hurts. I don't care that Sarah dislikes me, but I won't tolerate her constantly belittling the man I love. I know how hard Mike has worked on himself, how much he loves and supports me, and I can't stand by while she tries to tear him down. As someone said in the comments, I go bear mode when it comes to him, and I don't care. I won't allow my family to mistreat the person I love. I told Tom I love him and will always cherish our memories, but I can't keep putting up with this. I understand he's in a difficult situation, and I'm here for him if he's ready to accept that his marriage isn't healthy and that Sarah is abusive. I can't force him to divorce her, but I made it clear that Mike is my family now. We plan to have kids, and I refuse to let Sarah be around them or allow Mike to be subjected to more of her behavior. We've tried to get along, hoping this would pass, but Sarah's only gotten worse. I'll still visit my parents, but if Sarah's there, I'm not. Tom and I cried a lot, and for the first time in years, I felt like I had my brother back. He apologized repeatedly, explaining things that helped me understand him better. Some commenters speculated that Tom was a rebound for Sarah, and it seems they were both rushing to settle down. Tom said he'd been struggling to find connection, and when Sarah offered him the chance to have a family, he jumped at it. In a way, we're all a bit broken. Tom plans to take some time alone to think things over. He said he wants to talk to Mike when he returns, to apologize for everything. He admitted he's seen how much Mike loves me and even envies our relationship at times. He told me he's proud of the woman I've become and that I'll always be his little sister. Afterward, I went home and cried with Mike. I've tried to stay strong for so long, but it was a relief to let it all out. Now on to the next story, story 2. I'm going to dump my fiancé because of his cheater past. I, 25F, met my fiancé, Mark, 34M, a year ago through a friend. We instantly clicked and started dating. After a year, he proposed and I said yes. But here's the thing, before proposing, he opened up about his past relationship. He was married to a woman named Sarah 3 years ago, and they divorced because he had an affair with a coworker. He says he deeply regrets it and has been working on himself ever since. He wanted to be honest with me before we took our relationship to the next level. I understood where he was coming from. He clearly feels remorseful, and I've even seen his ex-wife, who seems happier with someone else. Everyone makes mistakes or takes actions they wish they could undo. I trust him and love him a lot, but I can't shake off this lingering worry that he might repeat the past. This started when he became a bit secretive about his phone. He'd smile at the screen often, and when I asked him about it, he showed me a meme. Sensing my doubts, he even let me look through his phone, and there was nothing suspicious. But still, I couldn't fully settle my unease. A few days after our engagement, He took me to a work party. While we were there, I noticed he was a bit friendly with a woman. When I went over and introduced myself, I later found out she was the same person he'd cheated with. I confronted him about it afterward. He explained that they ended things shortly after his divorce and that they don't talk anymore, but he can't entirely avoid her since they still work together. I told him I wasn't comfortable with him interacting with her, even just at work. He respected my feelings, and as far as I know, he hasn't been in touch with her outside of work. I know he hasn't done anything to make me doubt him, and he doesn't show any signs of unfaithfulness. He's loving, supportive, and incredibly patient. I realize it might be unfair to hold his past mistakes over him. Then, a few weeks ago, a friend of mine met with me and shared some more details about Mark's past. She knows Sarah because her brother and Sarah went to college together. She cautioned me about Mark, mentioning his affair. I told her I already knew, but she went on to say that Mark started cheating on Sarah right after she suffered a miscarriage. He felt neglected because Sarah was grieving and depressed. After talking to my friend, I confronted Mark. He admitted that it was true. He was grieving, too, and he became resentful and distanced from Sarah. He didn't mean to hurt her, but didn't handle things well. I told him I needed a break from everything. It was just too much to process. He said he understood, and I haven't spoken to him since. I don't know if breaking up with him would be a mistake. He does seem genuinely remorseful and is otherwise kind, supportive, and mature. Would ending things now be a mistake? Edit. I should mention that he never specifically told me about a miscarriage. He just said they went through a tragic event that created distance between them. I didn't press him because he said he didn't want to talk about it. Also, I'm still not entirely sure if he regrets the affair itself, as he never confessed it to his ex-wife. She caught him in the act at their house. So, there's a part of me that wonders if he just feels guilty because he got caught. I don't know. After reading all your responses, I took some time to reflect. Some of you suggested I should just forgive Mark, with reasoning along the lines of men can't control themselves. That was honestly laughable, as if that's supposed to make this any easier. Anyway, I decided to talk to him. I explained that his past was weighing on me, especially because he cheated on his ex-wife during such a traumatic time for her. I brought up my own concerns too, like the fact that I'm at higher risk with pregnancy myself. I told him that it's hard for me to fully trust he won't hurt me the same way. He said he's learned his lesson from that experience. After his affair came to light, people called him a monster, and even his parents don't speak to him directly anymore. He claims he regrets it and feels guilty. So I suggested that maybe we should take more time to date instead of rushing into marriage, and even consider couples counseling. That's when he got irritated. He said if I don't trust him, there's no point in being together. I tried to tell him it wasn't about not trusting him completely. I just wanted us to be sure. But he didn't seem to get it. He then said it wasn't fair for me to judge him when he's never judged me for my past. I was taken aback and asked what he meant by that. He brought up how he knows about my dating history, hinting that I used to sleep around. To clarify, yes, back in college, I had a few one-night stands and some serious relationships. But I always ended things properly. If it wasn't working out, I never cheated on anyone. I told him that what he was saying didn't make sense, because while I might have a sexual history, I was always honest and loyal in my relationships. But he wouldn't drop it, saying that if he could let go of my past, I should let go of his. I told him my past is just that, the past. I'm focused on my future now, and it's ridiculous for him to compare his cheating to my past relationships. He argued back that I was being immoral, too. The conversation felt like a dead end. We both raised our voices, and finally, I took off the ring and said goodbye. The last thing he said stung, that his baggage wasn't as big as mine, and that I'm a hypocrite for judging him. He told me I'd struggle to find a partner willing to be with a loose woman like me. That hurt. I never thought he'd talk to me that way, and now I'm stuck with his words looping in my mind as I try to move on. Edit. If anyone thinks they can make me feel ashamed for my past relationships, don't waste your time. This wouldn't be the first time I've heard that kind of red pill talk. Honestly, I just laugh because I'm pretty sure those guys aren't getting any attention themselves. And if the best they can do is warn me that no one will wife me up, they're out of luck. I'd rather be single than with someone who has that kind of backward thinking. Now, on to the next story, story 3. Started a new life, so I gave up on alcohol and my marriage. I'm a 37-year-old woman, and I've been married to my husband, Chris, 40M, for 10 years. We have 2 kids, a 7-year-old son and a 4-year-old daughter. For the longest time, I thought everything was solid between us. But after my son was born, I slipped into a deep depression. Life wasn't going well. I was stuck in a dead-end, low-paying job, and since Chris had to work overtime just to keep us afloat, I was handling our son mostly on my own. When our daughter arrived, I made up my mind to turn things around. I used to drink a lot, but I've been sober for 5 years now. I changed my diet, got rid of the junk food, and started going to the gym and practicing yoga every morning. My sleep improved, my mood lifted, and I no longer felt as irritable or helpless. I updated my resume, found a better job, and now I make a decent income. Friends and colleagues started complimenting me on how I look and how much weight I've lost. I thought Chris would be happy about the changes, but instead, he seemed uncomfortable, especially when people complimented me around him. He'd joke about how folks probably thought he was some average Joe who somehow landed the hot chick. I brushed it off as just him being funny. But then, I found out he was cheating on me with a 22-year-old waitress from a coffee shop. I know her job isn't what matters, but from the messages I found between them, she doesn't seem like a great person. She called me an old hack trying to fit in with the young crowd and seemed to look down on me. She lives with her parents and dropped out of high school. Discovering this has crushed me. I thought Chris would be proud of me and the changes I've made. Our intimacy has even been better than ever. But apparently, this affair has been going on for 7 months. Even though I'm working more hours now, I still handle most of the responsibilities at home. I cook for him, pack his lunches for work, and try to initiate intimacy. But now, I'm filing for divorce. When I confronted him about the affair, he told me he felt overshadowed, invisible. He blamed me, saying I was too focused on myself and didn't see how my progress was making him feel small. He feels stuck in the same place he was 5 years ago, but I never pushed him to keep up with me. I loved him just as he was. I don't understand why he's doing this. I don't want our kids to grow up in a broken family, but I can't stay with him after all this hurt. I know his insecurity plays a big role, but he didn't need to tear me down like this. People had warned me that he might react badly to the changes in my life, but I never thought it would come to this. I wish things hadn't ended like this. Hello everyone, I want to thank all those who supported me and showed kindness. I've received PMs asking how I'm doing, and I appreciate it. I'm holding up, though the pain is still there, but things are moving along. I got my son and daughter into therapy. My son understands why we're divorcing and sometimes gets angry or has meltdowns. My daughter, being so young, doesn't understand yet.
I just need advice on handling this.
How can I help my son see that none of this is his fault? I don't want to hide the truth from my kids because I believe a couple's relationship deeply affects their children. I want him to have a good relationship with his dad, but I also don't want him to take any harmful lessons from this. The other day, I watched The Family That Prays, and it stirred up a fear in me. What if my son grows up blaming me for the divorce, like Andrea in the movie blamed her mom? What if he ends up like his dad? I know I can't control everything he thinks, but the fear of losing him is there. I'm doing my best to be there for him, but it's hard. My dad came to visit from another city. He knew part of what happened, but after learning the whole story, he was furious. When my ex came to visit the kids, my dad and he got into a big fight, and my dad slapped him. Since my dad was in the army, my ex was terrified and even threatened to call the police. My dad just shouted, "I'm not afraid of a cockroach, like you." I had to tell my dad to avoid making things more complicated than they already are. I'm trying my best to keep a daily routine, though sleeping has been tough. I don't want to depend on pills. On a positive note, I've got a lot of free time now, and I've noticed my chores are cut in half. Kids are messy, but it's such a relief not having to clean up crumbs or water rings left on the coffee table. I realized my ex was the main one creating the mess, and I was always cleaning up after him. Last week, I took my son and daughter to see Barbie at the theater. My friend, also a single mom of two, joined us. She suggested I dress up in a cowboy outfit like Margot Robbie's character, and we had so much fun. It felt great to be out and enjoy myself. Right now, I'm just trying to stay afloat and enjoy these small moments. I'm not interested in dating, though I've been hit on a few times. Nothing that sparked my interest. I'll check back with you all later.